When a woman you've been ignoring suddenly decides to resurface, it sparks a grand internal debate, the kind that makes you feel like a jury deliberating on a high-stakes trial. Do you respond and risk unraveling all that careful mystery you've built? Or do you maintain your silence and let her stew in the uncertainty? Most men fumble here, not because they lack intelligence, but because they fail to recognize the hidden chess match unfolding before them. Respond too quickly, and you hand over the keys to your emotional kingdom. Ignore her without strategy, and you risk looking like you misplaced your common sense somewhere between apathy and arrogance. The trick is knowing why she's reaching out and how your reaction either fortifies or crumbles your standing. You see, women test men constantly, whether they admit it or not. If she's reaching out, it's not necessarily because she can't live without you. More often than not, it's about control, validation, and a little experiment to see if she still holds the upper hand. Think of it as fishing. She's casting out a line, waiting to see if you bite. Are you still emotionally tethered to her? Will you jump at the first sign of attention? Or have you evolved into a man who values himself enough to choose his responses wisely? Your answer to this unspoken question will dictate how she perceives you moving forward. And let's be clear, this moment is not about her. It's about you. Do you crumble like a sandcastle at high tide, or do you demonstrate emotional discipline? Your reaction sends a loud and clear message about your confidence, self-respect, and personal boundaries. In today's dating landscape, where self-worth is the most valuable currency, a man who maintains his composure becomes magnetic. Women are naturally drawn to men who hold their ground, not those who fold at the first flicker of attention. In this video, we're cutting straight to the heart of this dynamic. I'll walk you through exactly how to analyze her behavior, how to decide if and when to respond, and how to ensure that every move you make reinforces your value. Because make no mistake, moments like these separate the men from the boys in the world of relationships. Oh, and for those of you who have been asking, I've built a private community on Podium where I teach men how to attract, keep, and lead in their relationships with confidence. No fluff, no gimmicks. Just real actionable strategies. The first 20 people to join get a special discount, so don't wait. Click the link in the description and claim your spot. And if you know a guy who needs this wisdom, do him a favor and send this his way. Now, let's get to the video. 1. Analyze why she's reaching out. The chess match begins. When a woman suddenly reappears after a stretch of radio silence, it's not an accident. It's a carefully placed move on the chessboard of human dynamics. Women rarely act without intent, especially in the realm of relationships. Her message didn't just materialize out of thin air like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat. No, sir. There's a reason behind it. Your job isn't to react, it's to analyze. So, before you charge into a response like a cowboy riding headfirst into an ambush, pause and ask yourself, why is she reaching out now? Timing, my friend, is the biggest clue. Did she suddenly remember your existence after weeks of blissful silence? Or, more interestingly, did she see you out in the world, looking sharp, thriving, and apparently unaffected by her absence? If the latter, congratulations. You've unknowingly performed a psychological experiment on attraction. The moment you appear happy without her, she's compelled to check if her grip on you still holds. Now, consider the tone of her message. Is it casual, acting as though nothing ever happened? That could mean she's trying to keep control, sliding back in as if she never left. Is it apologetic? Perhaps she realizes she miscalculated by pushing you away. Or is it playful, subtly baiting you into engaging? If she tosses out a flirty, "Hey, stranger," or a vague, "I was just thinking about you," she's dangling the hook, hoping you'll bite. Your job is not to take the bait without understanding the fisherman's intent. Another crucial factor, the history between you. Why did you stop talking in the first place? Did she disappear on you, disrespect your boundaries, or treat you like a backup plan? A woman who reaches out after disrespecting you isn't necessarily looking to mend fences. She might just be testing how far she can push before you finally lock the gate for good. On the other hand, if she's reaching out after you took a stand, she could be acknowledging your strength and reevaluating her position. Either way, your response or your silence sets the tone for what happens next. And here's where most men trip over their own shoelaces. They react emotionally. The moment she reaches out, they scramble to reply, handing over their power like a man who just realized he's holding a winning lottery ticket, but gives it away for free. Remember, women are masters of using emotions to shift the dynamic. That's not a critique. It's just the reality of how attraction works. When she reaches out, she's testing whether she still has an effect on you. If you respond too quickly, too enthusiastically, or with too much emotion, you confirm that she does. But if you take your time, weigh the situation, and respond with intention, you show that her message hasn't shaken your frame one bit. Above all, remind yourself of your own value. Just because she's decided to reach out doesn't mean you owe her a response. This is your game to play. Is she genuinely interested in reconnecting? Or is this just an ego boost for her? Is she reaching out because she respects you, or because she's checking if you're still an option? Your ability to stay composed and logical in this moment is what puts you in control. And that, gentlemen, is where most men fail. They react instantly, handing her the reins. But by taking a step back, analyzing her motives, and deciding whether you even want to engage, you establish control. Once you master this, every interaction with women will shift in your favor. Now, let's talk about the next move in the game. 2. Don't rush to respond. The art of the strategic delay. Gentlemen, when she finally reaches out after days, weeks, or even months of silence, the first thing you must do is nothing. That's right. Pause. Take a deep breath. Look at the message. Then put your phone back in your pocket like a man who has more important things to do. Because you do. You see, most men make the fatal mistake of reacting faster than a cat spotting a cucumber. They snatch up their phone and fire off a response as if they're on a game show where speed wins the prize. But in reality, rushing to reply signals desperation, emotional dependence, and, worst of all, a lack of control. And trust me, nothing dries up attraction faster than a man who appears overly eager. Now, here's where the magic of restraint comes into play. When you don't respond right away, you introduce uncertainty into her mind. And uncertainty, my friend, is the secret sauce of attraction. Suddenly, she starts wondering, is he busy? Is he out with someone else? Has he moved on? And once those thoughts creep in, curiosity takes over. Curiosity leads to interest. Interest leads to pursuit. And just like that, she's investing in you without even realizing it. But let's be clear, this is not ghosting. Ghosting is what immature men do when they don't have the spine to communicate. You're not disappearing into the abyss. You're simply controlling the tempo of the conversation. A high-value man doesn't jump at every notification like a kid waiting for Christmas morning. He responds on his own terms, in his own time, when it suits him. A good rule of thumb? Wait a few hours, maybe even a full day before responding. And what should you do in that time? Simple. Focus on yourself. Hit the gym, work on your goals, read a book, or take a nap if that's what you feel like. The point is, you have a life that doesn't revolve around her message, and she needs to feel that. When you do decide to respond, keep it cool, composed, and neutral. No emotional outbursts, no paragraphs explaining why you took so long, and absolutely no emojis that look like they came from a middle school group chat. For instance, if she sends a message like, "Hey, I've been thinking about you," do not reply with, "Oh mgui, I've been thinking about you too." Instead, try something like, "Interesting. What's on your mind?" See what happened there? You acknowledged her message but subtly put the ball back in her court. Now she has to qualify herself, explain why she reached out, and do the work to keep the conversation going. You've kept your frame, maintained control, and reinforced your value, all by saying less. And that, gentlemen, is how you teach her to respect your time. A man who values himself doesn't grovel for attention. He lets others earn their way into his world. So, when she finally reaches out, don't rush to reply. Let her wonder, let her wait, and when you do respond, do it like a man who knows his worth. 3. Respond on your terms. Lead, don't follow. Now that you've analyzed the situation and resisted the urge to jump on your phone like a man starved for attention, it's time to craft your response. But here's the golden rule. You respond on your terms, not hers. You see, most men trip over themselves the moment a woman reaches out, replying with all the grace of a puppy who just found his owner's slipper. But a high-value man, he moves with intention, not emotion. He's not here to win points or prove himself. He's here to set the tone. First, ditch the generic, eager replies. If she sends a casual, "Hey," or "How have you been?" do not respond with, "Hey, I've been great. I've missed you so much. How have you been?" That's the conversational equivalent of rolling over and asking for a belly rub. Instead, keep it cool, neutral, and slightly indifferent. A simple, "What's up?" or "All good" does the job. It acknowledges her without giving her the validation she may be fishing for. Your tone matters. A confident man operates from a place of control, not desperation. This means keeping your tone calm, collected, and just detached enough to create a little intrigue. No need for excessive emojis, long-winded explanations, or apologizing for your delayed response. Your message should carry the subtle undertone of, "I'm busy, I have things going on, and I'm responding because I choose to, not because I need to." Let's say she messages, "I've been missing you." The average guy might crumble and reply with, "I've missed you too. I was wondering when I'd hear from you." But you're not the average guy. Instead, you reply with something like, "That's unexpected. What brought that on?" See what happened there? You acknowledged her message, but now she has to explain herself. You've shifted the focus back to her, making her work for the conversation rather than rewarding her instantly. Women respect a man who doesn't fall into their emotional traps, who keeps the dynamic balanced in his favor. Set boundaries and maintain control. Responding on your terms also means knowing what you will and won't entertain. If her message has undertones of manipulation, guilt-tripping, or vague excuses, don't be afraid to subtly call it out. For example, if she says, "I feel like you've been ignoring me," a weak response would be, "Oh no, I haven't. I've just been busy, but I really wanted to talk to you." Instead, flip the frame. "I've been focused on things that matter to me. What's on your mind?" That one sentence does two things. One, it reinforces your priorities. You're not a man waiting by the phone. Two, it makes her justify her reach out, shifting the power dynamic back to you. Control the conversation's pace. Never let her dictate the rhythm of communication. If she bombards you with messages before you've replied, stay calm. Her impatience is proof that your time is valuable, and she knows it. At the same time, don't fall into the trap of over-investing. If you engage too much too soon, you risk looking like you've been waiting for this moment. Keep the conversation balanced, present, but not overly eager. Know when to disengage. One of the most powerful moves you can make is knowing when to end the conversation. If things feel forced, if she's not adding anything of value, or if she's testing you, gracefully exit. A simple, "I'll catch up with you later," sends a clear message. You're in control of your time, and you're not afraid to walk away. And that, gentlemen, is how you lead the interaction rather than follow. When you respond on your terms, intentionally, confidently, and without emotional neediness, you set the stage for a dynamic where you lead, and she follows. 4. Avoid falling for emotional hooks. Keep your cool, Captain. The emotional hook, a classic move in the eternal chess game of relationships. When a woman you've been ignoring suddenly reaches out, don't assume it's out of pure, undying affection. More often than not, she's dangling bait, hoping you'll bite. And if you do, well, congratulations. You've just stepped right into her frame, where she dictates the emotional tone, and you, my friend, are left scrambling to react. A man in control, however, doesn't let his emotions steer the ship. He stays composed, evaluates the situation logically, and never, never lets sentimentality override his sense of self-respect. Recognizing the emotional hooks. These little traps come in many forms, some as subtle as a soft breeze, others as obvious as a marching band. Here are a few common ones. 1. The nostalgia. Hook. Remember when we used to talk all night? Ah yes, the golden age of late-night conversations, back when you thought love was built on 3 a.m. texts and inside jokes. But let's be honest, if those conversations were so life-altering, why did she let them go? Nostalgia is a clever trick because it paints the past in warm, fuzzy hues, conveniently forgetting all the headaches that came with it. 2. The guilt trip. I feel like you've been avoiding me. Of course you have. That was the whole point. But rather than letting guilt creep into your bones, recognize this for what it is: an attempt to shift power back into her hands. She wants you to feel bad, so you'll respond emotionally rather than strategically. 3. The vulnerability play. I've been going through a lot lately, and I didn't know who else to talk to. Now, this one is tricky. Compassion is a noble quality, but be careful. Some women will use this as a Trojan horse to get back into your emotional world. If she truly needs help, she should be turning to family, close friends, or a therapist, not the man she ghosted 3 weeks ago. The correct response: stay neutral, stay unshaken. The first rule of emotional hooks: doctor, not take the bait. When she tries to reel you in, recognize it for what it is, an attempt to shift the power dynamic. Your goal is to acknowledge but not invest. For example, if she says, "I've been going through a lot," respond with a neutral, "I hope you're managing. What's your plan to handle it?" See? You're showing concern without stepping into the role of her emotional savior. If she tries to make you jealous, "I've been hanging out with a new friend," don't flinch. Just reply, "Sounds like you've been keeping busy." No emotion, no reaction, just cool indifference. If she throws out flattery, "I've really missed talking to you," resist the urge to bathe in the validation. A simple, "Glad to hear that," keeps things grounded without giving away your power. Reinforce your boundaries. No room for manipulation. If she escalates and says something like, "You don't care about me anymore," this is your moment to stand firm. A weak response would be apologizing or scrambling to prove her wrong. Instead, hit her with, "I care about myself enough to avoid unnecessary drama." Boom! Just like that, you've reasserted your frame. No emotional unraveling, no chasing after her, just pure, unshakable self-respect. Final takeaway: hold the line. Avoiding emotional hooks is about staying grounded. The moment you let emotions take over, you lose control of the interaction. But when you stay composed, when you refuse to be pulled into an emotional tug-of-war, you position yourself as the leader, the one she respects and looks up to. And that, gentlemen, is how you keep your power exactly where it belongs. 5. Test her intentions before fully re-engaging. Proceed with caution, my friend. When a woman reappears in your life like a magician's rabbit, seemingly out of nowhere, you'd be wise not to assume she's suddenly realized you're the love of her life. No, sir. More often than not, her message has a hidden motive, and unless you enjoy being a pawn in someone else's game, it's time to test her intentions before you go rolling out the red carpet. People, especially in the wild jungle of modern dating, act out of self-interest. She might be reaching out to reconnect, or just as likely, she might be stroking her ego, fighting off boredom, or checking if she still has you wrapped around her little finger. Before you take the bait, you need to put her through a few simple but effective tests. Step 1. Gauge her effort. A woman who genuinely values reconnecting won't send a lazy, uninspired, "Hey." If that's the best she can muster, don't take it upon yourself to build a whole conversation out of it. Instead, respond with something neutral, like, "Hey, what's up?" Then, sit back and watch. If she puts in real effort to keep the conversation alive, that's a promising sign. If she hits you back with another empty one-word response, you have your answer. She's not really interested, just checking if the puppet still dances. Step 2. Ask probing but light questions. Time to go full Sherlock Holmes without the deerstalker hat. Ask her something like, "What made you think of me? What are you hoping to catch up on?" These questions force her to reveal more about her true motives. If she dodges the question or throws out a vague answer, you're dealing with a red flag. A genuine response, on the other hand, might include an apology, a clear acknowledgement of her past behavior, or a sincere interest in reconnecting. Step 3. Watch her consistency. Some women love to drop in, stir up some interest, and then vanish, only to return when they need another fix of attention. If she's inconsistent, texting you enthusiastically one day and then disappearing for weeks, she's likely toying with you, don't play along. A woman with real interest shows consistent effort to stay in touch and rebuild trust, not sporadic, breadcrumb-style attention. If she's popping in and out of your inbox like a part-time employee, it's best to move on. Step 4. Set small boundaries. If she suggests meeting up, don't immediately agree like an over-eager intern at a new job. Instead, say something like, "I'm busy this week, but maybe we can figure something out later." This serves 2 purposes. 1. It reinforces that your time is valuable. 2. It forces her to show whether she's serious or just fishing for attention. If she's genuinely interested, she'll work around your schedule or follow up later. If she gets defensive or impatient, it means she's only interested on her terms, and that's a one-way ticket to more frustration. Step 5. Observe how she handles delayed gratification. A woman who genuinely wants to reconnect will respect your pace and boundaries. If she starts pressuring you, guilt-tripping you, or getting irritated because you're not jumping through hoops fast enough, she's likely more interested in control than connection. If she pulls the "you don't care about me anymore" card, your response should be cool, collected, and unshaken. Something like, "I care about myself enough to take my time." This sends a crystal clear message. You are not a plaything, a backup plan, or an emotional vending machine. Final takeaway: make her prove it. Testing her intentions isn't about playing games, it's about protecting your value. The last thing you want is to waste your time on someone who's only there to use you as an emotional safety net. By making her prove her sincerity through effort, consistency, and respect, you ensure that any re-engagement happens on your terms. And that, my friend, is how you make sure you stay in control. 6. Don't abandon your frame when she reaches out. Stand your ground like an oak in a storm. One of the biggest blunders a man can make, right up there with texting an ex after 2 drinks, is abandoning his frame when a woman reappears. Your frame is your set of standards, values, and expectations. The unshakable foundation that makes you who you are. The moment you start bending those standards just because she suddenly remembers you exist, you're handing over control of the interaction on a silver platter. And let me tell you, nothing kills attraction faster than a man who bends like a blade of grass in the wind. The Great Frame Collapse: How Men Lose. Respect without even noticing. Too many men, when a woman pops back into their life, suddenly become accommodating to a fault. They soften their boundaries, ignore past disrespect, and let her dictate the pace of the conversation. All because they're afraid she'll vanish again if they don't roll out the welcome mat. But here's the cold, hard truth. The more you hold your ground, the more she respects you. Women don't admire men who abandon their values at the first sign of attention. They respect men who stand firm. This doesn't mean you act cold or dismissive. It simply means that your world doesn't suddenly revolve around her reappearance. How to keep your frame intact without being a jerk. It starts with self-awareness. Take a step back and ask yourself, why did she disappear in the first place? Has she suddenly changed, or is this just another test? Does she actually respect me, or is she fishing for attention? If she disrespected your time, flaked on plans, or played games before, don't pretend it didn't happen just because she's back. Instead, subtly but firmly acknowledge the past. If she suddenly wants to pick up where things left off, try saying, "I don't entertain inconsistency. What's changed?" This simple question, forces her to explain herself. And more importantly, it shows that you are not blindly accepting her return without accountability. Don't let her set the terms. You're in control. Here, if she sends you a vague, half-hearted text late at night, like, "Hey, you up?" you don't need to rush in like a knight on horseback. A high-value man isn't on call like a 24/7 hotline. Instead, you can respond on your terms. "Busy right now, let's talk another time." Or better yet, don't respond at all. This signals that your time is valuable. She has to earn her place in your life, not just saunter back in whenever she pleases. Resist the urge to overcompensate. No need to prove yourself. Some men, in a desperate bid to prove they're still worthy, start over-investing. Suddenly, they're showering her with compliments, trying to be extra charming, or bending over backward to keep her engaged. This is a one-way ticket to losing respect. If she thinks she can get your attention without putting in any real effort, she'll keep you around as an option, but never as a priority. Let her work for your attention. If she's genuinely interested, she will prove it. And not with a low effort, "Hey." Your actions speak louder than words. Keeping your frame isn't just about what you say. It's about how you carry yourself. Speak with confidence. Keep your tone calm and collected. Never explain yourself unnecessarily. Even if her behavior frustrates you or confuses you, stay composed. Emotional outbursts or erratic behavior, that's a surefire way to kill attraction. If she senses that she can push your buttons, she owns the frame, not you. The power of walking away, the ultimate sign of self-respect. If she's still playing games, if her behavior is inconsistent, if she refuses to respect your time and effort, let her go. Walking away isn't a loss. It's a declaration of self-respect. A man who values himself never sacrifices his standards for the fleeting attention of a woman. A high-value man doesn't just let women into his life. He chooses them. 7. Decide whether she fits into your life, not the other way around. When a woman who once drifted into the abyss of silence suddenly resurfaces, it's easy to let nostalgia, curiosity, or sheer boredom cloud your judgment. But before you go rolling out the red carpet, asking yourself the most important question of all, does she still, or did she ever, deserve a place in your life? Should be your top priority. The truth is, too many men waste time rekindling connections with women who don't align with their values, goals, or even their sanity. This isn't about holding grudges or crafting some elaborate revenge scheme. It's about being ruthlessly honest about whether she adds genuine value to your life or simply disrupts it like a stray cat knocking over a full cup of coffee. First, ask yourself, why are you even considering this? Before you even think about responding, get brutally honest with yourself. Are you considering it because you actually see potential? Or is this just your loneliness whispering sweet lies in your ear? If your motivation is emotional attachment, fear of being alone, or worse, the ever-elusive desire for closure, then your emotions are driving, and logic is stuffed in the trunk. A high-value man doesn't operate from a place of scarcity. He operates from abundance. He doesn't cling to someone simply because they've reappeared, any more than a lion chases down a zebra just because it happens to wander back into the savannah. If she left once, she can leave again. And if that bothers you, ask yourself, why are you giving her another chance? Next, evaluate her past behavior. Because history has a funny way of repeating itself. If she ghosted you, played mind games, or treated your time and energy like an afterthought, has anything truly changed? A woman who truly wants to be in your life will take accountability for past mistakes. She won't just waltz back in with a "hey stranger" and expect you to pretend nothing happened. Has she acknowledged her behavior? Has she apologized? Has she shown real growth, or is she assuming time alone is enough to erase the past? Because without genuine change, the same patterns will play out like a broken record, except now you know better. Assess her energy and effort. Is she actually investing? A woman who genuinely wants to be part of your life will make it obvious. She won't be vague, inconsistent, or treat you like some old jacket she tossed in the closet and is now reconsidering. Her words will be backed up by effort. If she reaches out and then puts in zero work to actually reconnect, red flag. If she's testing the waters just to see if you're still available but doesn't follow through with meaningful action, red flag. If her energy is all over the place, treating you like a revolving door, red flag the size of Texas. Does she fit into your life? Or are you being asked to shrink into hers? Now, here's the real question. Does she fit into the life you're building? Or is she subtly, or not so subtly, expecting you to adjust, compromise, and bend to fit into hers? If you're focused on your career, your goals, or your personal growth, does she respect that? Does she encourage your ambitions, or does she subtly pull you away from them? Is she supportive of your priorities, or does she expect you to rearrange them for her benefit? A woman worth keeping in your life complements your path. She doesn't compete with it. If she expects you to choose between her and your growth, then you already know the right answer. Choose yourself every time. Is she reaching out for the right reasons, or just using you for a temporary fix? Some women reach out because they miss you, respect you, and realize your value. Others? Well, they reach out because they're bored, lonely, or need a quick confidence boost. Be aware of her timing. Did she reach out just because she's lonely on a Friday night? Did she suddenly remember you exist after seeing you thriving on social media? Did she conveniently pop back in because her other options dried up? A high-value man is nobody's backup plan. If she's reaching out for validation, she'll vanish again the second she gets it. Don't allow yourself to be an emotional crutch for someone who only needs you when it's convenient. Final decision: keep or cut. At the end of the day, this decision comes down to self-respect. Are you here to be someone's safety net, their just in case, their backup quarterback when the starter gets injured? Or are you a man who moves forward, not backward? If she's serious about reconnecting, she'll prove it, not just with words, but with actions that align with your standards. If she's just looking for a temporary fix, walk away without hesitation. A strong man always chooses himself first. Your time is valuable, and so is your energy. If she can't align with where you're heading, there's no shame in leaving her exactly where you found her.